Welcome to Networking Working, the podcast where real business stories meet meaningful connections. Brought to you by Business Matching UK, the UK's first business matching membership service with a business opportunity guarantee. Whether you're building something new, scaling something established, or just exploring smarter ways to move your business forward, you are in the right place.
Welcome back to Networking Working, the BMUK podcast. In this episode, we're joined by Pete Redden of PJR Creative, a graphic design and artwork studio in the northeast of England. Welcome, Pete.
Hello.
Let's start with the most important part of this conversation, Pete. What does your business do and who do you help?
I run a small creative design agency in the northeast of England, and I class myself as a fully encompassed design company, covers all areas of design. But my mates like to tell everyone that I colour in for a living and get a cheap laugh from it. So I've just accepted that now. So I just tell everyone that I colour in for a living, and I'm constantly sharpening my coloured pencils. I'll do anything from logos to brands, all the way through signage, brochures, flyers, anything that needs making looking pretty. I've had quite a colourful life as a designer. I've worked with all kinds of people. I started off at 17 and I've done over 40 years now in various guises around the northeast. I started on a drawing board back in the day, and I always remember when Apple Macs first came out and people said, oh, that's going to be the end of designers. And I survived that, but I always said that I think being able to draw makes a difference because you become creative by drawing in the first place, and that's how it all started. Everything was marker visuals, and I absolutely loved it. When the computer came out, I thought, well, that means designers can be designers without being able to draw now. And people said, oh, we'll see how it goes. And we came through it. I'm still here all these years later. But now we had the invention of AI, and everyone said that'll be the death of designers. And here I am again, going through a similar process. But AI just copies. Nothing's original with AI, just copies. So the whole point of being a designer is creating something original. As long as people can see through that, then all well and good. And I'll always hope to continue doing exactly what I'm doing. And as long as I'm warranted, I will. But I've worked for some crazy people over the years. I worked with a crazy guy. He had two names that I knew of, and neither of those names were actually his real name. I only found out when his real name was on the front of the Chronicle when he was going to a Newcastle court. Steve, we'll call him. The stories were unbelievable. I didn't know any of his history beforehand, but as part of the design team, it was a design company that he was trying his best to run a legitimate company for the first time in his life. But there was 8 lines that came into the building, and the 8th line was a red dot when it rang, and it was for a hair regrowth company. The design team had very little to do with it, apart from when I saw the files for the original leaflets, and it had bald man for the name of one picture, and then the associate picture was bald man with a wig. So obviously his hair wasn't grown because the product was useless. I mean, we had a dog comb that they imported for 99 pence from the States that had rotating bristles. So when people with hair that was coming out, the rotating bristles wouldn't drag. They were selling it for about £19. The shampoos all had thickening agents, so people automatically thought the hair was getting thicker. But this was featured on GMTV, Good Morning Britain, I think it was at the time, on ITV. There was 4 other products that were reviewed on it, and every single one of them was slated. The following day, Steve came into the building and said, right, we're changing all the branding, all the marketing, everything's changing from today. He says, I want as seen on GMTV, stick it up on all the boxes, all the advertising, everything. And I was like, Steve, it got absolutely slated. He says, it's a program that everyone watches and everyone believes. If someone hasn't seen that program, once they see the sticker, they'll just buy it. And I was like, really? And he said, just go for it. In the next month, sales went up by 37%. And I was just flabbergasted. I thought, it's not right. He hasn't done anything wrong, though. I just thought it was genius marketing, and I would never have had the guts to do something like that. But he was a character. And although I didn't agree with a lot he did, he was a proper character. We actually set up a magazine called Buzz. It was a Northeast magazine, and it was to go out. At the time, the Evening Chronicle used to have a Thursday newspaper that had jobs in that everyone bought. So we were going to do a job section. We were going to put this out, and it was going to be all about the Northeast. So the football teams, the music from the Northeast, all kinds of pubs and clubs that were opening. And the initial issue was going to launch And it's still the longest shift I've ever put in. I did 39 and a half hours in one go to get the launch out without a break. We were sitting in the car park with pizzas on the boss's car with a can of beer at 1 o'clock in the morning, just having a break. The boss gave me his due. He stayed there all night. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't help me with any skills at all. He says, but if you're in there working, he says, I can't go home and just sit, watch the telly. He says, that's not fair. So he just stayed all night. He fell asleep on the leather settee a couple of times, but he made sure he was there because his staff were working through the night and he couldn't go home. So there was nice parts to this guy, crazy, crazy times, and I didn't stay there very long. You just never think. Just colouring in will get you kinds of stories that will entertain people on a night out. I love what I do. It's effectively my hobby, and I would be doing something like this if I wasn't employed in it, you know.
How did you first get involved with BMUK? What drew you to the community?
Probably a little bit different from the normal members because I've known Phil Pugh for quite a long time now, and he asked me if I would be interested in having a look at some rebranding. So when Paul Norton Matching Service was changing to BMUK, Phil asked me if I would start having a look at some initial designs for BMUK to create the logo. So I began providing ideas for that and some proofs and taglines and how things could possibly work in the future for BMUK. Then after the first lot of proofs, he introduced me to Mr. Lawton, extraordinaire, and my life changed forever. We worked on the brand for a while in all kinds of different areas, the formulas, the graphics, how they would work. And we honed it down to what it is now. And I've been a member for about 8 months, 10 months now. That's how I ended up here.
How do you see BMUK supporting your future growth?
It's supporting me every time there's a meeting because I do all the presentations, and as it develops, I'm becoming more involved. There's all kinds of things in the pipeline, like newsletters, and the more I do, the more I meet people, the more I can talk about what I do and how I can help other people, and it's already starting to come to fruition, you know.
This episode of Networking Working is brought to you by Business Matching UK, the UK's first business matching membership service with a business opportunity guarantee. If you're tired of turning up to networking events that lead nowhere, BMUK guarantees to offer something different. Structured, supported, and strategically driven business development, designed to connect the right people in the right way at the right time. With a blend of face-to-face and online meetings, plus 7 IP and trademark protected mechanisms, BMUK guarantees real business opportunities, and that guarantee is the cornerstone of what makes us different. Stop chasing leads and referrals. Start matching with meaningful opportunities. Register your interest today at www.business-matching.co.uk. Business Matching UK. Matching ambition with opportunity.
How does networking within BMUK differ from other networking experiences you've had?
With BMUK, it's a much bigger setup for the Northeast in particular. But what I'm finding is the extra branches, the Leeds and the Manchester groups, because we can communicate with those on Zoom and we have the format with the breakouts with one-to-ones, you can have proper conversations with proper people, and one-to-one makes a big difference. But I'm finding that I've made contacts with a few people in the Leeds and Manchester groups. One thing we notice as you move down the country, the prices for services go up. So I'm becoming much more competitive. Not that I wasn't competitive up here, that charge a decent rate for what I do. But I've started working with one guy from York who's in the Leeds group, and he asked me to have a look at his socials after I had a Zoom meeting with him. And I says, can you send through an example of what you put out so I can utilise that and create something on the back of it? He sent me a leaflet that he'd had done by a designer in the local area, and it wasn't very good. And I thought, oh, how do I tackle this? And I thought, right, I'm just going to send him back some pointers. It's for a cleaning company. He had 12 reasons why he should use his product. And the numbers were huge. And the copy for the reason was tiny. And I thought, surely that should be the other way around. And there was so much information crammed in. So I gave him 4 pointers for the front and 4 pointers for the reverse. And just sent it back, says, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but have a word with your designer. Just state that this is what you could do just to improve how the company's perceived, how they would use your services in the future. And he just came back and said, just do it. And I was like, I wasn't actually chasing for that work. I was just saying he's been shortchanged by his designer down there. So he came back, asked me to do it. It was only enhancing what was already there, so I didn't really charge him very much. Gave him the designs and he loved them, absolutely loved them. And then came back and gave me his van library, his stationery, his business cards, leaflets, product labels. And then he's asked us to do a creative leaflet that was a bit different to everything he's done before, which I've booked in and I'm starting to work on, which is great. Never asked about price for anything. Actually still hasn't briefed me on the social media adverts that he asked me to do first. So I would never ever have had that opportunity if it wasn't for BMUK and being able to talk to people from further afield. And I'm finding that with most people I talk to in the Leeds and Manchester groups, that I think I can offer more for my services at my rates than they can buy from what they're receiving down there. And I've had really nice comments about my work and stuff that I do. One guy I was just talking to the other day who saw me background on Zoom, he says, "That's one of the nicest backgrounds I've seen." He says, "You should offer that service to every BMUK member." I've never even thought about something like that, but he says, "Well, I'll have one." So it looks like I'm going to get a job for him doing his background, but it's also a sales tool to say, PJR Creative did this for me, so it just opens up a lot of opportunities on a much quicker scale, I'm finding, which is great.
It is something that I've also found being a BMUK member myself, is the community, it's supportive and it's not salesy, but just like you did, giving advice and offering that support inadvertently brought you business. And that's such a nice, natural way for it to happen.
Yeah, it's lovely, just from a conversation. And the guy was lovely. He was part of a 4-man Zoom breakout room and asked for my number. And we had a chat and I'm getting regular work off him, which is lovely. And he's happy because he's getting a better service now and he's getting better graphics. So it's great. I love when I can make a difference and the client's really happy. I always try to get to know my clients. Primarily as I start a relationship with them, I always say, be honest with me. If you don't like me design, I'm not a young kid anymore. I've been around a while. I've got thick skin, very thick skin. And I'd much rather that a client that was paying me for my services told me if they didn't like something or if I hadn't quite grasped what they were talking about, rather than some people say, "Oh, well, it's not quite what I was thinking. If you can just try and do this." And you end up going around the houses, but I'm charging them to make amends and they're not telling me the truth. So if they tell me the truth, I can cut to the chase and I can make a difference to what I've done to try and give them the answers to their problems quicker, cheaper and more effective, So I'll always say, be brutally honest. I'll take it on the chin if I've misread the situation. I'd much rather you spend less money on me but get the job you want,
Absolutely. Who is it that you're looking to hear from, Pete? Who would be your perfect client referral?
My perfect client would be a brand new startup where I can go in, design a logo, design the branding, create the signage, create brochures, leaflets, pamphlets, social media graphics from the start. So I can build and grow with them as a business from the start. And then it's perfect because I'll understand them from the beginning and what they're trying to achieve. I'll hopefully help them to achieve that along the way. And they'll know how I work. I've probably got about 140 clients on my books. Some I might only hear from once every 8 months when they're going to an exhibition. They'll give us a call or they might want a new brochure. And I might not have heard from them for 8 months, but pick up the phone. "Hi, Pete, how are you doing? You haven't heard from me for a while, but we need some work from you." And then I'll have some people that give me little bits of work every 3 or 4 weeks. But the whole thing, it just builds. I like to make friends as well as clients,
What's the easiest way that people can find you and your company if they'd like to find out more?
Take a look at my website, pjr-creative.com. Dead easy. It's got bits about my background, my stories. It's got some critiques on there, examples of my work. Or just drop me an email, pete@pjr-creative.com. And I'm more than happy to have a chat, have a Zoom, anything you want. I can send you a link to my portfolio. I don't put that online because it's a bit clunky, but anyone that would like to see everything that I do, it gives you a bigger expanse. My website would be ginormous if I put all that stuff on my actual website. And I love a chat, as you can probably tell. More than happy to have a chat with anybody, so get in touch.
There's a certain part of your website that I absolutely love. So please do go to Pete's website and have a look at the team. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Intrigued.
If BMUK were a single tool in your desert island survival kit, Pete, what would that tool be and why?
I had to think about this because I thought it was a great question. And I was originally going to say a Swiss Army knife, but then I thought, well, it's kind of jack of all trades and master of none. And the master of none bit really troubles me. So I didn't want to be that because the master of none just sounds rubbish. So I actually, when I was thinking about this, I thought about Allen keys, an Allen key set, because it's all about having the right key for the right job. And if you find that right key, you can tighten relationships, you can bond relationships, and they only become tighter the more you turn, the more effort you put in, the better the relationship. And it only works if it fits exactly. And I think that's the same with relationships. You know, if the fit's right, then the future's bright.
Very wise words, Pete. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. As members, we're lucky to have BMUK, but BMUK are very lucky to have you. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
If today's episode gave you fresh insight, a practical takeaway, or simply something to think about, hit follow, leave us a rating or review, and share the episode with someone else navigating the same landscape. Networking Working is powered by Business Matching UK, a movement changing the way businesses connect, collaborate, and grow. If you're ready to take a more strategic, supported approach to your business development, one that's built on strategy, not chance, then BMUK is what you didn't know you needed. Visit www.business-matching.co.uk to explore more and register your interest.
The information in this podcast is for general guidance and entertainment purposes only. The Networking Working podcast shares ideas and experiences to inspire and inform, and we believe they can be valuable, but they may only reflect part of your own business journey. We always recommend seeking independent advice and using your own judgment to decide what's right for your business. We encourage you to do your own research before making any decisions. The opinions in this episode are our own and those of our guests, and we do our best to ensure the content is accurate and relevant at the time of recording. If you have any questions or would like to continue the conversation, you can reach us at info@business-matching.co.uk. Thank you for listening.